Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Robinson of Baco Arviden. I'm glad to be here today to tell you who we are and what we're doing today and tomorrow. Our team consists of data scientists, manufacturers, innovators, electrical engineers, and they focus on the renewable energy sector, whether it be grid, solar, wind, or battery. I am in the professional services and operations side of the business, and I coordinate with my colleagues. So before we go further, I want to take a step back and talk about the history of Baco Arviden. The company was established in 2023 by Arviden, which is an artificial intelligence company, and with Baco, a leading renewable energy company and designer. And so far, our journey has been setting up Baco Arviden as a separate entity, and then getting collaborators to join us so that they can work with us so we can harness their expertise, special skills that are needed. Then we have been engaging with the Department of Energy on multiple discussions, and then the national laboratories such as Brookhaven, as they've been giving us guidance and helping us as mentoring us. Now, I'd like to talk about what Baco Arviden does. We understand energy in the form of battery storage systems, charging stations, and R&D, renewable technologies. But we do not do this alone. We need collaborators because it's such a big task that we're focusing on. For example, we have a construction company, Megan, which helps build federal buildings. Softora, which is a technology company for application and scalability. A Catalyst Group, compliance, environmental services, and eTouch for semiconductors. So with all these companies together that are supporting us, what are the problems that we as Baco Arviden are tackling? Well, the first one I want to talk to you about is charging ports. Right now in the United States, we have about 160,000 charging ports. And you can see in this grid here, the public is blue and the private are orange. And with that having only 160,000, the electric vehicles are becoming real popular now. EV sales are now outpacing the charging infrastructure. A McKinsey analyst estimates that if we want to meet the demand of the current production by the manufacturers, can you guess how many charging ports we need to have in 7 years or by 2030? Well, by 2030, we need to have 28 million charging ports to meet the demand. Even Santa will need a charging port. So we see that there's a big challenge ahead of all of us. And how does Baco Arviden takes this challenge? Well, the way we are taking this challenge, we are transferring technology from overseas back to the United States. And not just transferring technology overseas to the United States, but we're selecting certain areas like hub zones, disadvantaged areas to set up charging ports, manufacturing of charging stations within these areas. Also, we are dealing with the grid as we have an optimization solution that will make the grid more efficient. So these are benefits that will have job creation, environmental impact, and community engagement, and plus economic growth. Thank you. Thank you.
We have 6 minutes for questions.
All right.
I'll come down here.
Hi there, so nice to meet you. I did have some questions. In your presentation, you spoke to various companies that are part of your company. And you talked about construction, and you talked about semiconductor and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of confused of the connection. So, does your company construct the charging stations, and that's the construction piece, or is it buildings? Or what? And just confused on it.
As a company, Baco Avedon is a R&D technology company. So we actually are doing the software for the charging stations, which is very complicated, so we have to license it over from overseas. As for our collaborators, they also work in tangent with us, so they will contract through us, Baco Avedon. So any, for example, construction, they will work through Baco Avedon support on, because we're working with the federal government, we're working with the DOT, we're working with the DOE. So these are large, we have to scale very fast. But everything's going through Baco Avedon. It's a minority company, and we have their support, and then we contract any special expertise through our collaborators. Does that make sense to you? Okay, it's because we're dealing also too with new technology. When you're thinking of charging ports, it's like you're charging only at one time. But charging stations, you have to have your own energy source. The grid can't support it. So we have technology that will enhance that, but this has to scale fast. So we're not too big, we're too small to scale. And the goal is to scale it where the federal government will eventually take it to commercialization. So we're more in the R&D than in the commercialization. The consultants, but also we have the engineers and technology, who are the data scientists, because a lot of the technology has to do with AI. So we have also bring them together, but we also have people within Baco Avedon who will be doing the programming, who will be doing the technology, the enhancing on the Baco Avedon. Okay.
Thank you for that presentation, Mark. I saw you reference 28 million charging ports by 2027. Is that the 2030? 2030. Does that take into consideration the shift that we've seen in society, where so many more people are working from home? So my question is more specific towards commercial customers like large corporations. Do you still see that large need at their corporate offices, even though we're seeing so many people work from home?
Yes, this takes into consideration, that report was from Enroll and also McKinsey. So it has nothing to do with the shift of working from home. It's the demand with all the production by the manufacturers of EVs right now at the rate that we're developing EVs, we need to be at 28 million. If the production stops and changes, then that number in 2030 would be adjusted. Okay, so it's based on production and right now EVs are becoming very popular. They're beginning to increase, but we're just not there yet. So we could use everyone in this room to start producing charging stations, and we still wouldn't make our goal by 2030.
Thank you, Mark.
Sounds like there's a lot of demand. Great presentation. I wonder if you could talk about competitors. It sounds like you have a lot of collaborators. Are there people that are also looking to get into this space? And can you talk a little bit about challenges that you're facing?
Yes. Well, we welcome competitors because we're not going to get it. We're not distributing charging ports. We're designing, creating charging ports for the government, for the DOT, the DOE, and then they will just deem as for who the competitors will be and scale it. So all we would say is, we're not doing installation. We're actually manufacturing charging stations within, and we're targeting like communities to have skills and jobs. So we know this is going to scale, but the goal is, because manufacturing is coming back to the United States, we need to get the resources and the training and working with the universities.
1 minute left.
Can you talk a little bit about the diversity of your client base? Meaning, is it mainly government contracts that you're focused on for revenue?
It's more, I wouldn't say they have invited us for this, so it's not like we're competing. We have been invited to be part of this. We have a solution of optimization solution for the grid, and that's what we really want to focus on, but because we got drafted into the CHIPS Act, we are now part of this, and it's bigger than what we wanted to do, but our solution goes hand in hand with the charging stations, with the grid. So the DOE is kind of guiding us as for telling us how to get us to get it to commercialization, and then once it gets to commercialization, they will take off and do it their own way.
Time.
Thank you.
So while we're getting it ready, I'd like to invite Carl Hill from Golden Technology Services, Inc. to come up. Welcome to the Bears Den.
While they're putting that together, I'll just go ahead and get started. My name is Carl Hill, and Bears, thank you guys for allowing us to come in and talk to you today. I'm going to talk to you about mental health and well-being, something that all of us are very close to and need some assistance in working with. I joined this journey in a passion a few years back when I was teaching youth and students how to code and build websites. And these youth were giving up their Saturdays for 5 months to come in from 9 to 12. And at the end, we picked the top 5, and we then attend a national convention where they compete against other high school students. And I tell them all, one luggage, it's got to fit in the car because we're traveling to DC, Baltimore. A young lady, high school student, gets in the car with a knapsack, and we're going for 4 days. My co-coordinator and I looked at one another because we knew something was wrong. When we stopped for gas, it come to find out that she had been having issues with her mom, and her mom kicked her out of the house with the clothes on her back. Of course, we bought her some clothes, some shoes, because we had an after 5 dinner on Saturday night. But that let me know that I did not have the awareness as the president of that club to understand what was going on with those kids. Moving forward, I went to an emotional poverty workshop conducted by a superintendent from Corpus Christi, Texas. Discovered that there's a lot that I didn't know about the prefrontal cortex, and that the reasoning ability for most people does not mature until they're 21. For boys, it's even later, as most girls know. I also learned about ACEs when I met the executive director of the Rotary Family Youth Initiative and was invited to join their board because of my passion. I learned about ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. If you don't know about it, look it up, because it's going to help you identify what's going on with kids today. My objective was to talk about ACEs, and I am now a certified presenter on ACEs. 5 months after joining the board, an ex-colleague of mine from IBM called me and said, "Carl, I have this software you should take a look at." I said, "I don't do software." "Carl, please look at this software." I looked at the software, and immediately my mind exploded, because this is what I was looking for. I'm going to share this with you, this software that I was looking for. And we started working with a lot of different organizations to present this and allow them to use this. It's called Clarity, and it is a mental health well-being software. It was designed by 2 psychologists Dr. Moreland, Dr. Schlosser. Dr. Moreland, at the time, was the chair of the psychology department for Fordham University. He also was the committee chair for testing and assessment for APA. So he understood this. He knew that we were going to be at an inflection point where we do not have enough psychologists. So what does this software do? Number one, it eliminates and minimizes the stigma of going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist because it is a well-being app. Number two, it increases the ability to provide care because it is a mobile app. So it makes it available not only to employees, but also the underserved. And so we're going to show you a couple of charts real quickly. But the net of it is this. The software in less than 5 minutes gives you the ability to respond to 18 statements. And as soon as you hit the submit button, a screen pops up that shows you a bar chart to let you know how you see yourself. Physically, emotionally, mentally, whether you're socially connected, whether you like your current life satisfaction and your life direction, and a total line on a Bell chart. After a while, you'll learn how to do self-care and manage that for yourself. It is geared for nonprofits. It is geared for individuals that are working on themselves. It is geared for clinicians to quickly assess an individual that they're working with. And it clearly helps the care management companies because it will eliminate the ability to minimize how much mental is involved in the physical side when people submit themselves into the emergency room in urgent care. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation, Carl.
Thank you.
One question that I have is, what's proprietary, if anything, about the software? Could you speak a little bit about
Sure.
what your competitive advantage is?
Sure. The software is proprietary. It is available for opportunities for people to acquire. We're actually offering it to nonprofits as a research scenario. So if you're a nonprofit during this period of time, we'll offer it to you to use within your group. I was chatting with Leslie Ford, who has Mom's Hierarchy, and she and I have already discussing the fact that we're going to make this available to her to kind of drive that. So it is proprietary, not available for anyone, and it's, as far as competition is concerned, there are a lot of things out there that's new that can be used, but we think this is better because it does offer psychometric data from a longitudinal study standpoint as well. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Very interesting. I'd like to take the assessment, actually. I'm sure you're not doing this just because it feels good to do it. So can you talk about how you plan to make money?
Sure. But believe it or not, I did do this originally because I was passionate about it. But the way we have structured the pricing, we have pricing for nonprofit, which is very, very inexpensive because we want to make sure that we make that available to kind of help the youth in the environment. We also have a price for clinicians because it gives them the ability to quickly assess and understand specifically what are some of the things that an individual needs. As you know, it is projected there's going to be about 250,000 less clinical psychologists in 2025. So how are we going to get to the individuals and the people that this drives from a standpoint of access to care? The other piece of this is we also are working with the large enterprises and the public sector to get this. And there's a scale of pricing starting with the enterprise, public sector, clinicians, and then the individuals in the nonprofit. Any other questions?
So So it sounds like this is something that everyone can use. Just wondering, can you talk a little bit about the kind of team you need behind you in order to help scale and grow this company?
Yep, very good question. Golden Technology Services is the primary marketing and sales organization for this. So I did barter a deal with the software publisher when he realized my passion of driving this. He says, Carl, I like your vision. I like the fact that you love this. So we've been working with HBCUs to try to help generate and create an opportunity to do some research with them. Southern University and Baton Rouge did do a small study with their psychology students last summer. We're also attempting to get this converted to a chatbot. And we need some funding to kind of do that, because you don't necessarily need to have individuals work with them individually. You can have the chatbot kind of communicate and work with the individual as well. Okay? Just a quick point. You have a question? Okay.
So I'm trying to think about, you know, what is out there already and who your competitors are in some ways. And I immediately thought about, you know, because I work for a large global corporation, of course they, during COVID, pushed groups like Thrive to us and everything. Are you looking into doing any kind of collaborations with those companies? Because when you spoke about Chatbox, I immediately thought there's a connection there.
Yeah.
Right? And so are you reaching out to any of those types of corporations, you know, our friend Ariana Huffington or anybody like that, that could help you to bring your company along as you need some financing? Thanks.
Yes, the answer to that is yes. We have communicated with a lot of large businesses and folks that are in this market as well. We've gone to the Army Application Lab in their human performance optimization, where we've presented this on the mind body. You know, everyone focuses on the body, but the mind literally controls that. So the answer to that is yes. We have looked at doing multiple situations with all the folks. I'm going to just take 1 second just to show you what the bar charts looks like that pops up on your cell phone, smartphone, etc. You can see the bar chart going down, and this individual here, there's a check engine light on the blue line and on the brown line, where the individual is having some issues with their well-being on emotional and also in their social. And so you can have those discussions with that individual specifically about their issues. But we recommend that we have the conversation on the positive things first to get them chatting about the positive things, and then lastly on the things that need some help. So, and it's just very easily just a quick chart that shows it starts with the cell phone and rolls left to right. But anyway, the other thing that if I could is just talk about the user management tool for the care management companies. There's a significant opportunity to leverage that as well so that they can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. So our next Bears Den contestant is the BT2 Consortium.
I was trying to be Peter Hearst, but no one can be Peter Hearst. But you know who I can be? I can be Shantae Davidson, and I am delighted to be here with you all today. What you saw earlier was an example of collaboration, and it's with that same theme that we would like to present to you the Better Together Brain Trust, known as BT2. And so today we're going to talk about our company. I clearly am losing my voice, so you'll hear from some of our co-founders today. But what I'd like to start with is an old African proverb. I'm going to start it, and if you can finish it, please do. If you want to go fast, go alone.
If you want to go far, Go together.
go together. And so with that, we have decided to create the Better Together Brain Trust. It is a consortium that is an LLC and is founded by 4 individual companies that make up this unique and distinct brand. I am the fearless leader, Shantae Davidson of Impact Energy. We are an energy efficiency consulting firm. We have Nicole Boudrin of MPV Energy. She's an engineer with multiple degrees. We have Edson Hilaire, who unfortunately has COVID. He is a signatory to the local 103 IBW in Boston. So we have an electrical license on the business, which is a distinction that none of our competitors have. And then finally, we rounded out with the big guy over here, Kevin Porter from KT&T Electrical Distributors. And so what we can provide to you is an end-to-end womb-to-tomb electric vehicle installation and maintenance program. And that is something that is uniquely distinct. We are fashioned behind a book called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, written by Gino Wickman. By a show of hands, has anyone read that book? All right, well, long story short, I'm a former supplier diversity professional out of Eversource. I left them because I could not find myself in this space. So what I did was we built our own table in the spirit of Shirley Chisholm. With that, I'm gonna be quiet because I can't talk anyway and hand it over to Nicole.
Shantae, do you hear that?
Oh my gosh, Nick, what's that?
Shantae, it's time to wake up.
But wake up from what?
Wake up to the climate crisis at our front door. Floods, wildfires, excessive heat, exceptional drought, they're no longer a future concern, they're a current day reality. The good news is our region is committed to taking action and supporting rapid decarbonization and electrification of all sectors. We are a Massachusetts-based company, so most of our values are based on that, our trends.
Recording in progress.
And for instance, Massachusetts aspires to net zero climate emissions by the year 2050. Sorry, I'm advancing my slides in the background, which you can't see.
But who here saw the news this past weekend about Brooklyn and all the flooding they've experienced? Or who here lives in Cranston and your car might have gotten sludged in all of the water? Or maybe you, Edwin.
So our business offering includes turnkey electric vehicle charging station installation, EV charging funding, navigation, and EV charging consulting. The trends are the global EV charging infrastructure market is poised to reach $56.9 billion by 2027 in the next 4 years, a compound annual growth rate of almost 35%. The US needs 28 million charging stations by 2030. Thank you to our friend who presented it first. Massachusetts has a goal of 900,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2030 and 75,000 public charging stations, and we're less than 10% of the way there. The utilities further have committed over $1 billion of funding to investor-owned utilities in Massachusetts over the next 4 years for infrastructure programs. Our target market, because we design and install station installations, we are hardware and software agnostic. We want to design and install the solution that works for you, your business. We work with commercial businesses, multi-unit dwellings, municipalities, utilities, and electricians. The competitive advantage, as Shantae mentioned.
We are the secret sauce.
We are the secret sauce, minority and women owned. Our business model, we're a vertically integrated company. So we have full end-to-end turnkey solutions from audit, design, distribution, turnkey installation, and preventative maintenance all in one shop.
You don't have to look outside of us.
Our money comes from consulting fees, turnkey project installation costs, recurring revenue from maintenance subscriptions, and workforce development. We are technology agnostic. We had a beautiful competitive analysis slide, so you can imagine it in your heads because you're all creative people. And we want you to let us help you make your EV journey better.
Because
together.
we are better.
Together.
We are better.
Together.
We are better.
Together.
And then just by an inflection point, Takeda has a goal to have an electric fleet within the next 5 years, over 31 times, and this is all from their most recent ESG reports. CVS references carbon reduction over 30 times, and there's goal number 13 that's based on carbon metrics. And then, okay, there's a lot of consumer spending that's happening from JP Morgan.
She's got no voice, but she can still talk.
One of the mics back here for questions.
Mike down here. Appreciate you. I knew this. You always got me.
Thank you for that, and thank you for bringing that energy to the presentation. Question I have is, I know that you're based in Massachusetts. What's your footprint, though? What part of the country or what areas of the country can you provide this installation and product for?
Kevin has electrical licenses in Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. Edson has electrical licenses in Massachusetts, and he's a signatory of the IBEW, so we likely have a New England footprint when we call on those folks.
And all of our companies are, individual standalone, but we have this collaborative. So Impact Energy has a partner in Georgia where CVS has a distribution center being built. And so we have partners in Georgia, so we welcome your business.
Just to add to that. So also part of the BT2, you can do the design and all of that as well. So it could be the entire East Coast, and then we would go out to other electricians. We would own the work and then fulfill it.
Thank you.
I wondered how, this is a similar question that I asked of another company, scaling and growing. If it's just you that are able to work on these projects, how do you grow? How do you train other people to help you expand?
So because we're a business collaborative, we're a standalone business, but we're made up of the 4 respective businesses of our founders. So KT&T, you have about 15, 16 employees that we can leverage. I'm not sure where Edson's at, like 23, 24. So we're able to use the employees and scale through our existing companies. We're also pursuing grant funding so we can have consultants and eventually be able to hire. We have our first customers, and we're going to hopefully be profitable pretty much immediately.
You're good. One more question from me anyway. I'm curious, typically, what is the cost of one of these installations?
We don't have enough time, but there are different types of EV charging stations. You have a level 1, which is the slowest, a level 2, which is going to be the most ubiquitous, and level 3, which is the fastest. You keep adding a 0 on to each hardware type, and then within each hardware type, you have a whole breadth of options. So a level 2, which is going to be the most common for commercial businesses, we have on display here, you can purchase just the equipment only for about $5,000 to $7,000. There's some on the market that are $11,000 plus, and then you have the electrical infrastructure considerations, which also vary. But I'd say in that 10,000 plus range is a healthy place to be budgeting for each station.
And the great thing about the stations is that the investor-owned utilities provide funding to help offset the cost, so they incentivize you to purchase them, and essentially you can get them for a very low price, to close to free.
Just to add to that, and that's one of the reasons for BT2 is because each situation is going to be a little different. You might need a wall charger, you might need the level 2, you might need dual port, the electrification on the other end, all that stuff. So all those steps in there are what BT2 can do. You can go to an electrician and do one thing.
Oh, sometime we have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vanna White too.
Yeah, okay. Then I was trying to, when you talked about all your different customers, I'm trying to figure out the revenue from all the different customers, and where are you focusing? Can you just explain that a little bit?
Well, the city of Cambridge, where I'm pretty sure Takeda has an electrify everything, so we love to be in the city of Cambridge and love to respond to an RFP should you release one. But we essentially make our money in 2 ways. The first one is on installation, so that's just a one-time fee. Then we have recurring revenue through maintenance. So if we're going to have these charging stations throughout the world, imagine we're not going to be pulling up to a gas station and charging in 5 minutes. You're going to be charging anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. And so you're going to need your facilities staff to go wipe off the charging station, make sure that there are no cable management issues, and make sure it's working effectively. But likely you don't have enough staff, so you would hire us who also can maintain it for you. And so you'd pay us a monthly fee, and then if there are any type of parts or it needs to be serviced, then we get a service that way. Very similar to a software as a sales model. Think of us as Oracle, but with hardware.
To answer that question, though, we're casting a very wide net. We're serving anyone in the commercial space. We want to shy away from single-family residential, but we'll do multi-unit dwellings, working with commercial real estate developers and property managers. All right, 1 minute.
I wondered about guarantees and insurance, if you could talk a little bit about that.
So, yes, so when we're selling EV chargers, that's part of it, the warranty situation, insurance, vandalism, all that. So on the front side of it, if you need this level 2 charger, we're gonna say, okay, what is the application? Is it an open parking lot? Is it open to the public? So then the package comes, 2-year warranty, 2-year insurance, and everything is taken care of there. Each situation is going to be different though. So for instance, we're in a situation now where we start off with the initial package, but then the customer now wants 5 years renewable. So we set that up on the front side.
So the manufacturer has a warranty, we
Yes.
can install warranty, and then they can purchase preventative maintenance and extended warranty.
Right, and some of that happens. Oh, are you sure? Thank you.
We want to say that we are just so excited to be here, and we had a great time listening to all of the presentations. And we felt that all of the presentations did a very good job. You showed us your passion in your subject matter of your businesses, and we learned a lot. Me especially, on electrical attachments for cars and things like that. One supplier stood out to us, but everyone is a winner here. And we think that, kudos to you for stepping up onto the stage and doing this. It's a tough job, and especially with all of us staring at you. So, Edwin?
Thank you, Joyce. As Joyce mentioned, everyone did a great job, but there was obviously one of the presenters that we feel did the best, and that was mainly because of the fact that their approach was very direct in the sense that we clearly understood what their offering was. They clearly defined what their market was, what they could, what they couldn't do, and a great strategy for how to grow that business. And that particular presenter was
BT2. I just want to say that all of the ideas and businesses here were great ideas. They're all going to help change our world and bring us into the next century. So thank you for your ideas and your passion.
The competition was fierce. We appreciate everybody. Where's Kevin?
Yeah, he's right here.
But in all, I can be a goofball, but I'd like to just be serious for a moment. Back in January, 8 of us got around a table for a second time where we were trying to figure out how to work together, and Gary took us seriously enough to attend that meeting. So big props to Gary from the GNE, because he helped us to turn this idea into a reality. And so we don't often mention how the GNE has been a part of our journey, but it's a story that needs to be told. And so thank you for this opportunity.
So thanks to all of the participants. Congratulations to the winners. Thanks to the sponsors who actually allowed us to present that check. Again, the Panther Group, KJR Consulting, and Performance Drywall, LLC. Let's have a big round of applause for the judges the participants, the winners, and our sponsors.